What did you do to your Moogig?
I don't know. They're cheap as shit. Okay, how are we starting this?
I don't know.
Are we introducing ourselves?
Are we recording right now?
Yeah, we're recording.
We
Dude,
can
it's the
cut this
fucking
all
can
out.
opener, mate.
Okay, this is the can opener. I'm Nathan.
I'm John.
I'm Evan. I'm back again.
I just opened his own podcast for him.
Oh shit!
Get wrecked, bud.
It's yours
He's
too.
stealing your job.
It's yours
He's
too.
stealing your job.
No, my job was setting up the shit. Where do we start?
I don't know, man.
Anywhere.
How's you doing today?
Okay, that sucks. No one gives a shit.
Okay.
No one gives a shit.
Apparently not.
John is truly offended.
Both of you have offended me today.
Oh. Listen,
You know what? Let's get
John,
into that.
how much information are you retaining right now? I think I clipped the mic. I should back up.
Yeah, you gotta talk into
Mic
it. Not
control,
talk
man.
too loud.
Mic control.
Gotta work on that vocal technique.
You're singing. What are your dreams, Nathan?
Well,
Let's
shit,
start
man.
here.
Ooh,
What are your dreams?
we're getting deep.
To be...
The very best.
Here,
There
here.
ever
Let
was.
me rephrase this better. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And make it bold and make it honest.
honest?
On the
Okay,
streets.
Anything.
I don't care about being bold. I care about being honest.
Okay. Well, I mean, same thing.
Not really.
He's gonna be
Why
prostituting.
not?
Because... for me, I don't know, man.
He'll be a streetwalker.
I'll be a professional jaywalker.
Oh,
Shit, man.
I don't think that'll get you much money.
You're right.
I don't know if you're gonna
Kind of
be able
have
to
the
survive in this
opposite
capitalistic
effect.
society.
The opposite effect. I just want to have my own studio in 10 years.
Where? In Ottawa or in Toronto?
Probably in Toronto.
Toronto, Canada.
Toronto.
Yeah.
So is that? Jesus Christ.
Or I have a studio with a nice buddy, you know what I'm saying?
I don't want.
Yeah, make sure you talk to the mic.
True.
So when you move there, you plan to stay there for the next 10 years?
See, I don't know. I don't really plan that much. What?
You don't have to talk too close to it, but make sure like your vocal spread is straight onto it.
Yes.
Okay.
I am trying.
Okay.
I'm as...
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was saying.
We were seeing if
10 years from now, what's your plan?
I said, have a studio.
Have a studio, so a musical studio
Yes.
in Toronto.
Yes.
So you want to be in Toronto for the next 10 years?
I guess that's what that means.
How would you get there?
How do I get there?
What's your plan to get to that goal?
I want to, after finishing school, I'm going to move there. A couple buddies. John's one of them.
true.
And
2 Chains.
gonna I'll just take a shitty job, probably start with, get some money.
True.
What do you mean shitty job?
Working at Tim Hortons or something.
You go sit in the drive-thru,
Shit, boy.
collect those Tim Hortons tips.
I hope not.
Are there tips at Tim Hortons?
You can.
Okay, because
I never. No offense, but I've never tipped there. But
Because you're a piece of shit.
dude, why would you ever tip a
I
Tim Hortons
do.
employee?
My
they're fucking poor. Shit.
Yeah, no shit.
my friend's mom
That's their fault.
has actually gotten decent tips.
Not really.
That was controversial. Sorry.
Oh
Controversy
no, I
for
was
the
just saying,
sake
like
of it.
my friend's mom has actually gotten tips there before and decent ones, but I've never personally seen it.
No,
I
me-
don't work there though, so
Me neither. I was talking to my roommate about it too, and it's like, she's like, yeah, you get tips at Tim Hortons. I was like, what the fuck? You're talking as your ass right now. There's no way, motherfuckers.
No,
get
they tip. Well, I worked on the highway for the summer.
Yeah.
So we got truckers and police officers. They tipped.
True, eh?
they're the
Truckers-
only nice ones out there.
How
Truckers are nice as fuck, and they tip all the time.
how are you gonna afford to live in Toronto working at
fucking
Tim Hortons
expensive.
though?
You
Well,
can do it,
It's super
Yeah.
expensive.
but with roommates, it's easier.
It is, but like you need capital to invest in your goal eventually.
Yes. So my plan is to work.
Live off $2 a day.
Probably. Build up equipment. But I also want to offer or try to get started on mixing stuff.
Like online or like
Yeah.
in
Well, for now, I don't have anything. I don't have, like, The only thing I have are a pair of headphones and Pro Tools, so.
I mean, you can still do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna.
You don't have to tell motherfuckers what you got.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
plugins work too.
Yeah, no, you
Well, I
got
have plugins.
There's some
with the plugin.
pretty great plugins.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Some that like closely emulate what they're trying to be.
no, you can literally do everything in your bedroom now.
Yes.
There's
So that's what I
nothing-
want.
Look
That's
at
what I
look at
love.
what we're doing right now, dog.
Like, I would love to start a huge studio, but it's kind of hard to because of people being able to work in their rooms. But I can have a small business studio type thing in my own place
Yeah.
and
You'd
get
have to
decent
be.
money.
You'd really have to give the best product. Like,
Well,
you'd
yeah,
really have
you,
to like.
you have to build up your name and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you gotta put in the work, and I want to put in the work.
So, you'd want to go work at Tim Hortons?
No. I'm just
feel
saying
you.
that I probably
That would
have
be-
to.
That would be the first.
That's the 1st
I'm gonna
step.
try and get a better job,
Yeah.
but I'm not placing my hopes on having a better job. You know what I'm saying?
Gonna be an in-house
True, true.
producer
I'm-
right from the start.
Yeah, exactly. I'm prepared and willing to work my way up.
Excuse me.
Jesus Christ! It's
There we
Jason
are.
Bourne.
We already made a game. We already made a game on this podcast. Every time someone burps, you have to take a shot if you're listening.
Oh,
Okay.
No, it's ridiculous. It happens way too much. What about you, John? 10 years.
10
Where do you
years.
see yourself right now in 10 years?
10 years, I would like to kind of. I'm looking at more venturing into different areas at once. I like kind of multitasking.
Like, what do you mean?
So, like, running a studio, possibly even with him in 10 years, but
Yeah.
definitely from the start, I know we plan. I also want to get into, like, filming more, like, skateboard video type stuff.
That's true. Like videography?
Yeah. Not
That's
like big
interesting.
movies, although if I could get a job in
Yeah.
a big movie, cool, but more skateboard videos.
So we're all in music industry arts program right now. Would you take more school after this to do videography, or would you just try to learn it yourself and try to do the DIY?
I'd like to try to learn it myself.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a school person. So, like, try it myself. If I find I'm not progressing, maybe look at going to school then.
Yeah.
But,
It's a free OSAP, dude. It's free tuition.
well, now,
Yeah.
I
What do you mean?
I have to pay all mine.
Go do your OSAP calculator. And it's a different, now that the liberal government.
Isn't it to do with your parents, though, still?
How old are you? You're 21?
21.
I think he'd be an adult student. I think he'd be a mature student.
with my parents, I know there was the talk of it's like 50,000 under if your parents are making.
Yeah, that's free.
that thing. Okay.
Both my parents are making well over, so I couldn't. But my parents aren't paying for my OSAP is the problem.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, like they're not paying, so I don't know why this couldn't count for me then.
Yeah, no, I'm not totally sure, but I'm pretty sure we'd count as mature students.
That would be great.
Therefore, our parents' income.
What do you
wouldn't-
mean?
So
I am a mature student. I applied as one.
you applied as a
I
mature
didn't.
student.
Yes.
So, but next time John goes to school,
You didn't apply as a mature student?
I don't think I.
I don't think it's 21. You're a year older than us.
Yeah.
It's 19. I'm almost sure that it was 19.
Oh, really? Well, I don't totally know.
Yeah.
I didn't do
That
it.
stuff was so confusing for me.
But now that you're a mature student,
Maybe.
you could just post
I'm-
your income.
I'm also still not.
You're making like $12,000
not a
a
school
year.
person myself, but
Yeah.
if I found it would better me, like as I said, if I'm trying to learn filming on my own
Yeah.
and I'm not, I find I'm progressing like barely at all or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
I would look at going back to school. And if free OSAP was a thing,
Yeah.
I'd definitely go back then.
Because it's free. I did the OSAP calculator for myself, and you would get your tuition totally paid for, and then you get a loan that would cover living costs, so you wouldn't have to
Okay.
work.
What
But
you
if
would
you
pay
worked-
that living cost later though?
That would be the loan.
Okay, but
if
that's
you
still better.
no, that's the thing. If you worked, you could make $9,000 in a year at the same time as going to school, so you could pay that loan back that same year.
that
for the
actually
living
sounds
costs.
pretty nice.
No, it does. You should go look at it. Go on OSAP calculator.
Yeah.
But going back to your thing, do you think
Okay.
you're talking about fucking
Filming.
multitasking?
Yeah.
How important do you think is focus when trying to achieve
Focus
your goals?
is
How-
definitely important. For me, it's like if I find I'm not focused, like I want to do all these different stuff, which I've seen lots of people do.
Yeah.
But if I find I'm focusing more on, say, studio stuff, which at the time, right now I am,
Yeah.
then I'd work more on that stuff and kind of do filming as a side project. But I want to do other stuff as well.
Quote unquote hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
true.
it would be a hobby, you know, filming my friends, whatnot. If I'm making money and focusing on my studio work, then I'd focus on the studio work. The filming would be more of a hobby. I'd still put as much work as I can into it, but it would be more of a side project hobby thing for me.
True. When did that idea come to your head?
Very recently,
Yeah?
in our last semester,
What inspired you?
our good old teacher Kevin actually inspired
Kevin
me.
Komaransky.
I love that guy.
You better sit down, shut up, and listen, motherfucker.
He can be a little over the top sometimes, but he's a really good teacher.
You know what? I
find.
don't think he's over the top at all. But
It's the odd time I find. Most of the time, it's just he's very blunt. Like he says
I
what he
agree with
means.
the bluntness, but like there's a weird thing with him that when he's blunt, he like feels like there's sort of a need to like he like his ego gets in the way of his bluntness. I feel I don't know how to explain
Well,
it really.
I find
understand
like
what you're
he
saying.
actually cares about us learning stuff. So like he may seem like
He's
he
a hard ass.
hates you, and maybe he does, but I find he actually cares about teaching you. Not that the other teachers don't, but
Yeah.
I find definitely with him, since we're talking about him now,
Yeah.
he actually cares about us progressing and learning new stuff.
Yeah, and he understands what it takes to be successful, and he really is vocal about that. The hard work that pertains. There's so many fruit flies flying around.
I
It's
see
so
them, yeah.
Yeah, but he actually understands that, and he's if anybody bitches about him, it's like you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like some people in our class are just super soft.
But I
Yeah.
also find, like,
Yeah.
I've talked to him outside of class even, just
Yeah.
asking him questions, not even on, like, video editing, what we're doing, and he seems very eager and happy to actually
Talk?
tell me, like,
Yes.
I
Man,
don't know if I was with you, I don't think I was, but I was talking to him about the one mic drum setup, and he seemed like he just got, like, a mood boost. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm trying to record a cover with a
It's
maximum
interesting.
of 5 mics, and he's like, oh yeah, like this is a good one mic drum setup and all this, and he was very happy
when
to
he's
tell
not
me.
in front of a class, he doesn't feel the need to try and control the class, so he's much more approachable.
that's another thing. 100%. You can feel his ego getting attacked when other people are talking. Like, you know what I mean? He has that. But when I was talking to him about even starting this podcast, like I ran into Burrito Gringo. It's like, man, that's what you should be doing. Sat down, had me with like a 30-minute conversation with me about mics, and he was like all in for it. And he understands that. He gets it more than our other teachers do, I think. In the real world, quote unquote.
I haven't really talked personally with a lot of the other
That's
teachers.
the thing, though,
so-
because they're not personable, and he's personable. He understands like how to like get into your psyche.
Yeah, I found it really hard to go to him at first, but that's more I found him a little like
You're
he would
just
just
scared,
judge
right?
me. Yeah,
exactly. It's just
but
fear.
talking to him, I feel better
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and that
And,
just
like,
happens.
He's one of the only teachers I've kind of gone off the side with and talked about not really any personable stuff,
Yeah.
but more to
But he
do with
makes it
work.
personal, whether it's personal or not.
Yeah.
He makes it personal. But what inspired you? I'm grabbing a beer.
More just him teaching us. Like, I had never touched video editing software at all or
Yeah.
anything, and he kind of got us into that. And like, I know some people are like, oh, why are we learning about video editing when we're in a music course? But
They're
like,
some fucking idiots. All right.
Yes, I agree.
There are some fucking idiots.
I was like, what are you talking about? This is a super useful skill.
but as
This
I was
is
saying,
audio engineering.
It all pertains.
Yeah.
like, it kind of has to do with audio, like dialogue and everything. And as you've said, like studio work, it's kind of hard to make a decent amount of money.
That's the
where
thing, is like
movies, audio stuff, it's a lot easier. And that kind of got me like, I've always liked, like I'm a huge movie guy anyway. And just, I really like doing all the video editing we have so far. And it's kind of gotten me to a point where I'm kind of like, maybe this might be a big interest for me.
Is it an interest, or is it just like try to get that check?
No, it's more an interest. Like it is a check, of course.
Cheers.
Took a sip.
Cheers first, you bastard.
True.
But it is an interest for sure. But
you both
it's
gotta
also
drink. Have you never cheersed a fucking beer before? You gotta drink after, motherfucker.
No, dude.
I was just
don't
trying to
drink
finish
beer.
my sentence because I kind of stopped.
Sorry, John.
I'm not
No,
sorry.
that wasn't your fault. That was
Okay.
I just stopped.
Yeah.
Like it is obviously
awful.
for money wise, it's better than doing studio work. But I also got really interested in it as well. So it's kind of both for me.
It would be super cool because like that is
Because then I can mooch off of him.
yeah. Mooch off of what, the checks?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you gotta buy me some KD tonight, dog. This Tim Hortons check. I didn't get enough tips tonight. These truckers were pulling through.
In the middle of Toronto,
Yeah.
It's interesting because we've had this conversation before, Nathan.
Probably. What are you saying?
I do believe that like film is like the greatest form of communication we have nowadays, because we got film, we got video and audio.
Yes, there's the visual and auditory.
It'd be so cool to be able to be creative in that.
But it's not just that, though. It's also the writing, right? It combines like literature,
like
video,
everything.
audio, yeah.
Everything, and
Yeah.
literally everything. And it'd be cool to be able to like have the skills to be able to be creative in that space.
Well, yeah, like be able to show your work rather than just showing people, oh, this movie's great. And be like, yeah, this is my movie. This is why I did what I did.
Yeah,
all that.
have it conceptual. And it'd be interesting if you're talking about owning a studio. It's like if you had your studio, if you were proficient in audio or video editing, you could have someone come through, do a 5-song EP, have a band, or have an artist come through, do a 5-song EP, and you'd say, hey, I can do your music videos for you.
Yeah.
And you could have like, you could do the fucking smorgasbord of everything they need.
That was kind of a thought on my mind, not as much, but it's definitely a good idea. I
If you
find
got that, because then you get all that money.
for me though, although movies, you know, you get the visual, audio, everything, I find music hits me more message-wise
Yeah.
than movies. I know some people
Same,
find
dude.
movies.
I'm not a big movie person, but I need to get into
I'm
it.
a huge movie guy. It's just music kind of attracted me more.
Yeah. Same.
You know what's attracted me more? Podcasts.
I can tell.
Are you
I can tell.
Are you gonna start like videotaping these?
Like eventually.
Okay.
Eventually. I'm gonna wait though. I'm gonna give it a minute. It's like this is just what I want to do. I'm not doing it for anything right now.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is just
Well,
like,
I
this
find-
is just fun.
Even like, I find a lot of people I've been finding out like even just like putting in headphones and listening to like auditory books, podcasts, stuff like that, which I didn't think was really a big thing at all.
But it is.
No, that's the thing. I kind of get like pissed because I look through all these like people I follow on Facebook, like, you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
Nope.
No.
He's like some entrepreneur on whatever, and he's like a huge social media dude. And these other people, they're all starting podcasts. It's like, man, this could be the next big, and I'm like just an inch too late. But no, it's never too late. But it's like this is the next big. It's a huge. Joe Rogan has exploded this.
I love
Man,
those podcasts.
He gets more downloads than like local news gets. He gets like 5 million downloads would be a low for him.
Shit.
Crazy. Unbelievable, actually.
Yeah, like I find like it's kind of like 2-hour, 3-hour long interviews. I find
Hey, you know,
it's not even like specific topics, it's just they talk like we are now.
that's the thing. It's like it's changed the dynamic. It's not even an interview anymore. it's like you're having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
It's like way more personable. It's way more honest, and it's way more connection. It's way more like actually understanding who that person is. Like you listen to that Kid Cudi podcast or whatever, you would have never got any of that stuff from a radio interview he would have done. No. Right? So it's like it just opens up that it's just raw is what it is. Especially
well, it's just like discussions on their opinions on anything really.
It's just having a couple beers and having a conversation.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, and it's like you're that buddy. I was listening to a podcast today, and it was like it was like this, the art of the interview, and it's like you gotta pretend that he said. This guy like interviewed like George Clooney and like Robert De Niro and all these big motherfuckers. It's like you gotta look at that guy, and you gotta think that he's the guy sitting next to you on the bus. It's like that's the way you need to approach quote unquote interviews. It's like you gotta have that conversation. It's just like aim for the heart first, then aim for the head.
Yeah, because I find I've watched a lot where like I watch mainly musician interviews, but like they'll say they hate it when people are just like, oh, what's your new album called? Stuff that like you can easily just look up yourself, and they always sometimes even get mad at those interviewers, and they just say they don't like those. They like the ones where you're more talking about their opinions on stuff or like messages in their songs, stuff like that.
And getting to know them, ask them stories about their life.
Yeah.
It's like that's some bullshit sitting there. And I used to when I dreamed about being a rapper, like I used to watch those interviews and be like, damn, I can't wait to sit on that chair and like have a conversation with these motherfuckers. They're gonna be blown away. But it's like manifests its way into something, a bit different things. But it's like this is the new wave of conversation or of interviews or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's like it's kind of just like you're sitting with friends talking about whatever you guys talk about, but then you're recording it now.
But how do you how do you get attention if you're not someone like Joe Rogan? Like, how would you get attention if you're like this?
What do you mean? How did he get attention in the first place?
Well, because he was a comedian.
Well, yeah,
first.
Fear Factor. He was a comedian. He was on TV a lot.
UFC commentator.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
he was multifaceted.
At least what I think for like other people who get into podcasts that have gotten bigger.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's more just constantly putting out content, like making sure it's out on different places, Facebook, YouTube, whatever.
Constantly.
I
don't know the podcast websites.
Consistently.
Consistently.
Does Facebook have like an audio only thing? You know what I mean? They have videos, but I don't think I've ever seen
links to a spot.
You just have to like put it on SoundCloud and then look at it.
But I think also just promoting yourself, so on your social media websites, telling people like, I have this podcast out, like here's where you can find it, making sure that you're kind of, I'm going to call it creating friends, but just like fans, people that enjoy talking. People that enjoy talking to you. Super fans would be the best.
Music in the digital age.
Show Colin this. No,
I'm definitely gonna send Kevin this.
I think just creating like relationships with people. So like talking with people on, it could be out in the real world or on social media, like them liking who you are as a person, because obviously you don't want to be a dick to people, because why would they want to listen to your stuff then?
But I made a joke the other day on the first podcast I did, and I was like, I don't know what we were talking about. We were talking about like Republicans or something, and I was like, they're all racist. I made a stupid ass joke, and I was like, me and my buddy had a discussion about it later, and we're like how far do you have to cater? Like you're saying, create relationships with people. How far do you think you should be straight up, totally honest at every single point, or do you have to cater to who's listening to you to a certain extent?
You should be honest, but like you don't need to get how I've had discussions with people where I talk about how like I'm not really, people call me libertarian. I actually don't really know what it means.
Libertarians like limited government. Like they
Okay,
wouldn't-
yes. Like I don't, that is kind of how I believe, so I guess I'm libertarian. I'll have to look it up more to know all their stuff.
Yeah,
but
you should look it up because it's an interesting topic.
that's what I get called. But like you see liberals, Republicans, or sorry, liberals, conservatives, because we're in Canada, but Republicans, Democrats.
But it's the same thing. They're just not parties in the U.S.
Or like you'll see feminists and the other people arguing, but the problem I see
Manists.
with a lot of that and the arguments is they're just screaming at each other like fuck you, all this stuff back and forth, and I don't see that as doing any good at all. Like whichever side you're on, it doesn't do any good. You have to actually sit down and I think discuss with people, like,
well, yeah.
So if
it's a very good point.
Sit down with Trump supporters who, if you're not a Trump supporter, or sit down with both sides, which I've seen. I don't know if you know Chelsea Handler.
No, you were talking to me about her show the other day.
Like, I love watching her shows, and she'll sit down with people on her side and the opposition and discuss rather than just yell at each other, which I think gets more good out of it than anything.
I totally agree. Sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I said yes.
Okay. So I thought you were going to go off on something. But I was having this exact discussion with my buddy Jacob on the last one. It's like, it's like a team mentality. Yeah, that's what it is.
I see that
it's like
builds,
a sports team.
That can
it's
still
like
build a relationship. It may be someone who doesn't believe in your opinion. It may not be a perfect, like, your best friends kind of relationship, but it's still a mutual respect for each other.
But how do you entice someone to get rid of their ego in a circumstance like that?
That's a very hard thing, and I think it kind of has to do with them maybe noticing, say they believe that like this is a very extreme, but like beating their kids is a good thing if they believe that, which terrible thing, but
no, you should be able to hit a kid every once in a while.
I'm talking about straight up like
domestic abuse.
Like he's out.
Jokes aside, terrible thing though. But if someone was to believe that was a good thing, discussing with it may not do much, but if they start to see the reality and that it's actually a terrible thing, it's not really doing any good for that kid or whoever.
I think
it's hard, to switch someone's opinion if they're like very Republican or very Democratic or whatever.
Well, I definitely agree. I definitely think it's hard because I think it's hereditary. It's like, how do you stop someone's habits that are hereditary? It's like you look at someone who's an alcoholic and their parents were probably alcoholics, right? Like, how do you transform someone from something that they've learned for the past however many years of their life? Like, is that possible?
I've thought about this myself. I think it is. I don't have the answers myself, but I think it can be done.
Yeah.
It would be great to know myself, but I've thought about that so much.
Do you think it's just through discussion?
I think discussion is a good way to build a respect with that person, that they respect you, which can help sway their opinion a bit. Maybe it won't, but I find that helps more. It may not be the best
than
option.
Yelling at them, right?
I don't, when I see, people yelling at each other in protests or just in the hall or whatever, I don't see the point of that personally. I don't think it does any good.
Dude, because you see it. It's not even two people yelling at each other. It's two ideas. It's like two egos.
Yeah,
it's two
why would that sway their opinion and all? They don't have respect for you then. It's like, fuck you. Like, I'm not going to listen to you.
And now they're defensive. And now you're defensive. And once you're defensive, there's no going back. It's like you got to go take 20 minutes to sit down and relax before you can even have normal thoughts in your head.
And I find like even that kind of destroys that opposition's opinion of your group of people when it may just be one asshole that
Yeah, exactly.
just
Yeah.
yelling at them.
What were you gonna say?
I think one of the most important things in this scenario, though,
Yeah.
is trying to I think, like, the gateway to having meaningful discussions is to get each other to understand the perspectives.
But
right?
how do you do that?
That has to come from the person.
Do you?
If they're not willing to even consider,
Are you blunt like Kevin Komoronsky?
no,
Or,
I don't think so.
Or are
Well,
you very empathetic? Do you scoop under?
I think it's a good idea to show the person that you want to discuss with that you understand their
That's
perspective.
the key word right
before.
there. That's the key word. Understand.
Yeah, that you understand their perspective before trying to ask them to hear you out. Because that would be, yo, I understand what you're trying to say, and this is what I'm trying to say.
Look them directly in the fucking eyes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you can do that, but hopefully they'll see that they're not trying to attack you
Yeah.
or their ego or whatever.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll open them up to be a little bit more receptive.
Because, like, I've been in these situations where someone who disagreed on, like, trans issues, I'm pro for it because I know
That's a
people
very
in that
interesting
area.
discussion.
It is.
Into that.
But
do you want another?
I'm just going to say, like,
you
I
mean?
won't
Oh, yeah,
dive
yeah.
into the
It's not
whole
finished yet.
situation, but
Want another beer?
why not? But like, I'm for those people transitioning, switching gender if they want. Like, it's not me, so they can do to their body what they want, really.
Okay, here.
I don't
let's get
know-
into this discussion.
Okay,
okay, well, let
And
me
I-
go to the bathroom first.
there was someone who was against it.
Okay, well, what do you? Okay, so sorry, say it again. So you're for people transitioning to do
Yes.
whatever they want.
I'm just going to quickly say this, and then we can discuss the
Yeah.
rest after. But I was for, they were against, obviously.
What were they
And
against though? What was the actual
They didn't think
position?
people should because they see it as you're born that way. That's how you are. But the one thing is, we weren't screaming at each other. It was more like, he was like, well, it's a he, of course, I just said, but
Yeah,
I won't say names. But
yeah.
they
Pussy.
were like,
Okay.
I'd rather not
No,
talk
you're
about
probably a
people
better
unless
man
I'm
than I
right
am.
there with them.
Yep, you're probably a better man
But-
than I am.
So they were saying, they're against it. They weren't being rude or anything about it. They weren't like, oh, these people are fucked up, whatever. There were other people, because it was on Facebook, so I got off quickly because I don't like arguing on Facebook.
That's bullshit.
I
dude.
just had to say something that one time.
Yeah.
But, so they said they disagreed. Nothing disrespectful, really. So
Yeah.
I just said, like, I'm for those people. Here's why. No
Well, what do you
yelling.
mean
So
you're
we
for
just had a
those people?
discussion.
Because this is a multifaceted.
Yes.
You're saying you're
discussion.
for everybody's right to choose what they want
Yeah.
to
Like, if people want to switch genders or they want to be called
Yeah.
she when they're a guy
Yeah.
or whatever,
Do
or
you-
the opposite,
do you
they can
think-
do it because, like, it's themselves. I don't care what they want me to call them.
Yeah.
Or I don't care if they want to physically switch genders. It's not my body. I
Yeah.
like I'm cool being a guy.
Yeah.
But if they're not, then
John
Go ahead
secretly
for
wants a vagina.
maybe.
be. Well, maybe
Flip
not
that
for
dick
himself, though.
inside out. Okay, so I agree. Let me put my stance on here because
You
make this
can.
clear. I totally agree with you. I will call you whatever the fuck you want. But motherfucker, you can't get offended when I accidentally don't call
Well,
you
yes.
the right thing.
Like, I think if they give me respect, so if I
Yes.
say they switch to a girl, they want to
Yeah.
be a girl, or they switch to a guy, and I accidentally called them the opposite of what they wanted, if they just politely go, I'd like you to call me
Beautiful.
he, she,
Beautiful.
they,
Yes, yes.
whatever, great. If they're yelling at me, I won't yell back, maybe, unless they start getting really offensive, but I'll
I
be
won't
like,
yell that motherfucker.
I'm
He,
not,
she, girl, boy.
I'm not one to yell anyway,
Yeah,
but like
absolutely.
if
When John
they're
yells, it's
yelling
pretty
at
hilarious.
me, yeah. But I'll be like, you could ask me, like, I'd tell them, like, next
Common
time,
respect, right? Back and
next
forth.
time,
Exactly.
be a lot more respectful. And
But But there was a case. Sam, what's up?
Nothing.
We're doing a podcast. I love you. How was work?
Really shitty.
That sucks.
I'm not staying here tonight, by the way.
What?
I'm not staying here tonight.
Okay. Where are you going?
Christian.
True, I thought you'd be there right now, realistically.
You know what? I'm really worried because I have his apartment keys.
Oh, really?
So I
Is he
hope
still
I
at
can
work?
go there. I hope so.
That's an interesting situation.
God bless you, Sam. This is John and Nathan, by the way.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so where were we?
You were talking about a case that
Okay.
happened.
There was a case in Canada where someone got sued.
That's ridiculous.
No, wait. Someone got sued in Canada. There was a comedy show. There was a heckler yelling at someone on stage, heckling at a comedian, and then
That's
he
common.
called them something. He said something, and there was a lawsuit based
But
on hate.
what did he say? is the thing?
It wasn't enough for a lawsuit.
Shit.
What was it though?
Man, I can't remember.
You can't
Okay.
remember?
That
It was either it was something, and it got turned into a hate crime. This is a comedian on stage though. This isn't some motherfucker like down on the side of the road. Like, this is a comedian. This is a guy who makes his living on
making fun of
Making
people for the
fun of
most
people.
part. I find with comedians it depends. Like, you can generally tell if they're literally just joking or not. I don't know about if it's a small time comedian, but with big time comedians you generally tell
if
when
you're
they're
on
joking
stage,
around.
you're joking.
For the most part, I
There's a
don't.
lawsuit that won. And there was another thing in Germany. In Germany, 2 days ago, a law was passed for YouTube and Facebook. If there's any hate, quote unquote, hate content that is not removed within 24 hours on their sites, they get up to $57 million worth of fines.
Jesus Christ.
What is hate speech? Can you define that?
Well, it's the intent to actually.
But isn't that
Discriminate,
perspective? Is that
whatever.
perspective though?
It could be. It is.
Listen,
pretty
if
much.
you walk up to a guy, if you walk up to a black man and call him the N-word out of nowhere, I would say that's hate.
100%.
It's kind of
So there you
easy
go.
to tell,
what if-
though.
what if- Sorry, no, you go.
It is a perspective, but it's generally really easy to tell if it's actually intent or not.
Online though? In
Online's
24 hours?
a little different. Yes.
In 24 hours? It's like, it's getting to a real scary situation
It
where
is.
where censorship is over abiding this quote unquote hate speech. It's like, I always my theory is there's going to be kids in school today get taught to not bully.
Which is
It's
good.
like, motherfucker, there's going to be bullies always. You need to teach people how to deal with bullies. You need to teach people how to cope with bullies. It's like, you can't censor everything because it's not going to work.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
And it's just a fucked up situation. You can't have a lawsuit for someone saying anything. There shouldn't be that. You can't get that offended to have someone pay you a fine.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean,
And
verbal abuse is... You know what I'm saying?
I feel like you should have the freedom to walk out of that arena before you fine them. Get your
Yeah.
money back.
Yes.
I agree with that.
It's like,
Well, the situation that you're talking about
Yeah.
specifically, I don't know the details.
Yeah.
But if you're going
I'll have to
to
bring it, I'll edit it in.
if you're
Okay.
coming to a comedy event and
Yeah.
you are heckling the comedian
Yeah,
and you get upset when he responds to you heckling him
yeah,
in a comedic way, like, what is wrong with you?
yeah. Yeah, no, it's true, and I agree. But that's a real law that was passed in Germany. $57 million up to fines. It's like, I make jokes. I'm the type of motherfucker
That's
to
crazy,
make...
though.
No, exactly. And I'm the type... Maybe I just get personally offended because I'm the type... Here, no, I got it.
Oh, is it?
No, it's not supposed
Oh,
to.
okay.
I'm the
Thank
type
you.
of motherfucker to make really far-out jokes.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
See,
100%.
with
Well, so
some
am
of
I.
that, although with comedian it's different because you generally don't know a lot of the people there, but I find if it's one-on-one, you kind of need to know the person to make jokes like that. Like, I do that with my friend. My friend makes white people
sure.
jokes
There
to
needs to be
me
context,
myself,
right?
and we laugh it because I've known that guy for so long,
Yeah.
and I know he's joking. If it's some stranger you just walk up to, make a joke,
Yeah.
bit of a different story. I
Yeah.
think if you're going to make jokes like that, or white
There
people
needs to be
jokes, black
context.
people jokes, I think you need to
Yes,
know that
there-
person and know that they're comfortable with that and can laugh at that themselves.
Well, context is
Yeah, context.
the ultimate factor.
I like I was saying before, I made that stupid fucking racist joke the other day on this pod. Like, all Republicans are racist. I didn't say that exactly, but that was the intent of the joke.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, me and my buddy had a discussion about it after, about the context. I was like, okay, every time this happens, every time there's a joke made that's fucking ridiculous, there needs to be context added after that. Because that was the issue with that moment.
Well,
and
yeah.
he called me out for it that day. I'm glad he did, because it helped me understand that there needs to be context behind every comment. Because I can make that joke in front of you guys because you know me.
Yeah.
But if someone... whoever is listen, even if they heard me on the side of the street and I said that,
Yeah.
it's like that could be taken totally wrong without the context of my personality.
Yeah, like,
Yes.
yeah, you need to make sure that people know you're joking if you don't know them. Obviously, if
Yeah.
you're at a comedy show, it's kind of intended
Yeah.
that they're joking because that's their job.
But how do you know that online? It's like such a gray issue. It's so scary to me because it's like there's all this crazy shit about the left becoming too sensitive, the quote unquote left everybody is becoming too sensitive, and it's like there's real danger in that.
Yeah.
Real danger. I want to go back to the thing you were talking about, how we got to this trans issue.
Okay, yes.
Your Facebook battle. What do you think about battling on Facebook?
I hate it.
Oh, we recently had
Posting on
something.
Facebook.
I do hate that myself. Like,
Yeah.
that was me. I shouldn't have probably done that. I should have talked to them in person.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had a respectful conversation together.
Yeah.
I generally barely see respectful conversations like that when
Yeah.
it comes to stuff like that. So I don't think I should have done that, but it did happen, so it's too late now. I don't like them because I think
I
if
don't
you're
like
going
them.
to-
What do you mean you don't like them? What do you mean you
I
don't
don't-
like them?
I don't like Facebook arguments because I
Okay.
think it's better to actually talk to the person in person because
I agree.
you can see their facial expressions,
I
their
agree.
intent, everything is a lot easier to tell
Yes.
in person. I find with the internet, which happens a lot now, sadly, people will argue and they don't get the intention and everything and may get offended or hurt or
Mother-
whatever.
It's hard to
Fucker.
convey through written word.
Yes.
Motherfucker, if you argue on Facebook, you need to get a hobby.
That's
There needs to
why
be some changes in your life
do
if you're
text-
arguing on Facebook.
I do text because I
agree.
have friends outside
100%,
of
that's different.
here.
That's
but
like a
I
call,
don't
right?
like texting because sometimes the people I talk to get what I say anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't like that because I've had people get offended by my texts because they don't think I'm joking when I am.
Yeah.
Honestly, John, it's sometimes hard to tell what you mean.
I
through
know
text.
Yeah.
I know.
This guy.
that's partly my fault, but I find with just written stuff in general, it's a lot harder to tell people's intentions.
100%.
Well, yeah, recently there was something that happened at school,
Excuse me. Excuse me.
and somebody, this
That's a shock.
Facebook war battle happened, right?
Yes,
Oh,
which
that-
I've already talked to Nathan at least about my
I haven't talked
opinions.
to you guys.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to talk about that. I'm just trying to talk about what John was saying because someone tried to get me involved in this,
Yeah.
in that situation,
Who?
and I said,
Who?
"Yo, talk to me in person
Who?
after class."
Alex Galley.
Yes.
Okay. That was my first guess, dog.
Yes. And I was like,
Mind
"Yo,
reader.
let's talk in person after, like during class or after class, because I
Yeah.
don't want to get involved through text because
See, it's
that's
like-
very difficult."
It's like, what are you guys
I just
bitching about?
yeah,
What is
I thought
going
that was
on?
why I didn't like it because I thought they both sides
Didn't handle it well.
did not handle it well and were not respectful to each other for no real reason.
Yes.
They were just kind of yelling at each other
That's
like
the
we
ego
talked
thing
about
that
before.
comes in. We're talking about the ego that comes in the
Yeah, I
team.
believe
And
that.
that's why I just tried to stay out of it and like
Yo, Sam. Do you work tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Peace, dude.
I just tried to stay out of it. Like I didn't comment or anything.
Yeah.
I talked with one of the people in person and I told them like you and the other side could have approached it a lot better with more respect and everything.
Just put away your fucking, I don't know, they don't get it.
It's all about the ego.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
They don't get it.
100%
Like,
right.
Put it on the side and actually
I
deal with
find
the
that's
issue.
where a lot of these arguments where you're screaming at each other come from is ego. Like they
pretty
can't
much every time, I think.
they can't
Exactly.
deal with other like I find people with huge egos can't deal with other people's opinions. It's like you have the
'Cause it
wrong
hurts,
opinion.
dude. It
because
hurts.
they-
You
So
gotta,
fuck you.
You gotta buckle up and you
because
gotta.
if somebody gets offended by someone else's opinion, like, let's say Republicans and Democrats, right?
Yeah.
Because of your racist Republican joke or whatever. If someone is
Build
like,
that wall.
someone tries to
Build
talk,
that wall.
if someone tries to talk with, I'm gonna say Republican, and they're like, well, you know, I don't really agree with your views, and they get offended. What do you mean? You call me whatever? It's
Yeah.
because they feel like it's a part of them, right?
Yeah.
And you're attacking them by saying that you don't agree with them.
Yes.
100%. You know what's
Exactly.
And that's
you know what,
ego.
you know what's scarier though?
What?
Is we're talking about Republicans and we're talking about Democrats, and you know who are the most offended? Is the quote unquote left.
Yes.
The quote unquote liberals who I'm super disappointed in right now. They get the most offended. They are the ones filing these lawsuits for you not calling him a her.
Did you see recently, just a sidetrack, that there was this Ontario woman who got a judge passed an order to say that she could not file any more lawsuits or something?
That's so funny.
Because she filed like 21 lawsuits
Yeah,
or something,
chill out,
and they were
bitch.
like frivolous, and she was just fucking
rude.
looking for any
You were
reason to
rude.
get money.
Are you looking at me like that? Bro, she filed 21 lawsuits.
I know,
You can't
that's
call her a bitch.
probably-
She's
No, I'm not-
probably a bitch.
I'm not remembering the details correct, like 100%
Yeah.
correct, but
Oh,
that's the
shit.
gist. She wasn't allowed to issue any more lawsuits because she was abusing the court system.
That is like you need to make sure you're going to court for
But she
proper
did it
reasons.
on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
I understand
Yeah.
like
John, it's really hard for me to deal with people with sympathy from nowadays. It's
I
really
understand you. I'm taking the like
I'm
I'll
going
call
the-
it quote unquote hippie route.
Yeah.
Peace, love, all that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Well,
that's
you always listen.
Yo, I'm going the Kevin Komaransky route right now.
I can
Okay.
tell. See,
Bro, it's
like-
over.
Okay, you guys talk, and then I'll have my
No,
two
you say,
cents.
you say, you
Like,
say.
Well,
You
I'm
go-
not sure what you're trying to say.
I completely get where you're at, and I definitely have been there. I just find think I'm trying to think of how to word it. I'm not the best, but like
You're so cute, John.
Thank you.
Gay.
Thank
Adorable. He's just a hater.
I
He's
just
jealous of what we have, John.
I'd like to just kind of, for me, I want to be positive around myself and the people around me. Try
Yeah.
and keep positive. I understand there's a lot of fucked up shit, and I fucking hate it too. I just, like, I have my opinions on that. I don't want to talk shit about people that I don't like, because if I'm going to say stuff again, I'll say it to their face.
100%. I get that. But it's like, I'm a positive person. I'll never be a
I
negative
understand. You're always happy when I see
100%.
you.
There'll never be a day
He's
where
kind
I'm
of crazy. It's kind of weird.
Well, like, of course. But you talked about that thing. It was like your biggest fear is like not being happy, right?
Yep.
And I told you straight out, I was like, I don't ever fear that because I know it's never gonna happen. I control that within myself, whether I'm happy or not. But it's like it goes to a certain extent. What have I learned in my life? My dad put a lot of expectations on me and was hard on me, and I think that did me well. It hurts in this moment. It's like hurts when someone's honest to you. It makes you cringe and it hits you right in the heart. But over time, that's the only thing that's better for me. The only reason
right.
I'm changing my path and changing the way I communicate is because I think it's going to be better for the other person if someone's straight up honest.
I'm not saying I'm not straight up honest.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go up to people and say, like, I don't agree with what you're saying,
you're
whatever.
not either, because I know you are.
I just am trying
John
to take a more positive route when talking to people. For me, it's hard to explain my opinions with like a few words, but all the stuff I've discussed now is obviously my opinions and how I
100%.
feel.
I think it depends on the person you're talking to.
Well, like,
And
honestly...
some people respond better to blunt honesty.
It's very true. It's context.
Or
it goes back to
like
context.
I think there's blunt honesty, and then there's honesty and kind of a...
Hello.
What happened to your mic?
I'm fucking up. I'm drunk.
Talk?
There you go. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. I think there's difference between blunt honesty and honesty that comes in a nice wrapper. You know what I'm saying? Some people need the blunt honesty. Some people need the gift wrapper.
Well, yeah, like...
But how far does that gift wrapping
I
go?
think
That's your judgment.
for some
But it's
people...
not because it's a real person's reaction to that.
I find it...
Yeah, but you can't control people's reactions.
I know, but what...
Even they can't 100% control their reactions. Like, yes, you can try
that's
and...
bullshit.
I'm not saying you can 100%, but I find you can try
Takes
and
work.
hold... It takes work. Like, you can't... It's kind of like not genetics, but
It's environment.
personality. Like,
100%.
sometimes
It's habits.
whatever happens just comes out. And yes, you can work on changing that.
Yeah.
It obviously takes a lot of work. It can take a long time. So that's what I try and do, is try and understand maybe why they're the way they are. Sometimes I'm like, why are you even that way anyway?
Yeah.
But I try to understand, why they're however they are. And then I try and work around that. And if I honestly, like, if I find someone I don't like, their opinions aren't with mine, or they just don't bring a good vibe to me, I'll just try and stay away from them. I'll talk with them if they come up and talk to me, of course.
Yeah.
Like, I find that's just disrespectful to just completely ignore someone that's trying to talk to you, but I'll kind of let them know, like, I'm not really a fan of you, or I don't like you, really.
Well, I don't want your energy, because it's really, it affects other people's energy, is going to affect the way you feel. And it's like, that's the thing. I totally agree. You're talking about like approaching the situation with empathy.
Yes.
Which I totally get. I think that's the key to happiness, is looking at the other person and understanding where they come from,
I may not
and why their
agree
mindset
with it, but I try and understand and why they're approaching it. And I think like there's different ways. Not all are wrong, not all are right, but there's different ways of approaching each situation. So like, I find the way you approach stuff is fine. It's just a different way from how it's a different way from how I approach stuff.
100%. I'm definitely a little more blunt, and that's just how I like to be. I like to fucking laugh. And I laugh at blunt things. It's like, that's funny to me. It's fucking funny.
Hey,
I don't know.
Laughing's
I
great.
agree.
No, exactly. But it goes back to the key word we talked about earlier in the podcast. It brings it back, understanding.
Yeah.
And that's just it goes back to that key word of understanding the other person's situation, understanding the other person's perspective, and then dealing with that situation based on the perspective of the other person. The context and the understanding of the other person.
Like, again, how I approach stuff, again, understanding all that, what we talked about, and then I'll tell them why I don't agree with them, or maybe I do agree with them.
Yeah.
And I'll give them my reasons, and then they can give me their reasons why they disagree with me. That's okay. That's discussion.
I totally agree.
Yes.
I totally agree with that, but I'm at a certain point in my life where it's like,
you're fed up, kind of.
it's not even fed up. It's like, I don't have time for you. It's like, I don't have time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough. There's not enough of me to be able to cater to.
Yo, you're
Thank
drunk,
God
bro.
that was
Well, like, you gotta know
put the beer
to
bottle
just
here.
leave a situation alone.
It's empty. Actually, I should probably put it on the ground really.
No,
There-
put the
like-
full one here so that you don't spill it.
There's obviously times where you have to know to just like get out of that situation. Like, can't deal with them.
And I feel like that's really the time I'm coming to in my life, and it feels great. It really feels great. It's like
I'm feeling better too, and it's two different approaches, but probably I feel like both are good ways to
I
approach
really
it.
see both
100%.
of your points.
No, exactly, but it just goes back. It's like
There's not one way of approaching
if you
something.
deal with things with empathy, there's no way you're gonna be upset. There's no way you're gonna be offended.
Yeah,
if
like
you understand
Yes.
that, hey, someone's talking shit to you on the side of the street, that person is probably an alcoholic. That person is probably has a shitty family
yeah,
life.
like
I understand where they're coming from. There's no need to take offense to that person's comments.
Yes, but there's no need to indulge them either.
no, yeah, that's again
No, exactly,
back,
but you only indulge when you feel like you're hurt, like when you feel like you're being attacked.
Well, I meant like what you were talking about. You don't have time. You feel like you don't have time for that shit anymore, or right now.
I just think
I don't.
even
Exactly.
with stuff like that, you can approach it where I honestly wouldn't even approach them anyway.
No, exactly.
But
Expand
like,
on your
just-
thought, though. What do you mean indulge?
I just was trying to say what you were saying. Like right now, there's certain people
Yeah.
or person who I like a lot, but their recent behavior has started to become very
It's too much, right?
too much, and I've helped them a lot. And like at some point, you got to say this is starting to drain me.
100%.
You're starting to get
Yeah.
to me.
You know what? I was
Your
like,
energy is starting to hurt me, kind of thing.
hey, you gotta cut the dead weight. You know what? I was having a conversation with my buddy, and it's like, you know what I love having? I love having the fact, like, I met you guys a year ago,
Yes.
Yes.
but I love having the thought of there's people in my past life. That Frank Ocean line. You are from my past life. Hope you're doing well,
One
bro.
of my favorite voices.
Like, literally, though, it's like, that is such a good feeling to me because I've known I've grown away from
Well-
that. You need to cut people off. If you're
Yeah.
too scared to cut people off,
Of
you need to rethink your life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You need to rethink where you're going and what your feelings are. What are you scared of?
Like, yeah, again, cutting people off is good. Like, I've had people,
You need
even
to. You
even
need to
if
cut the
I
dead
want
weight.
them in my life,
Yeah.
you know, they're people I love, whatever. I just felt the need that this wasn't improving my life; it was making it worse.
100%.
So I need to get away from that person, and I'll try and explain, or sometimes I don't even explain. But
Yeah.
if they ask me, like, you know, why are you kind of distant, I'll tell them this is why. That hasn't come up for me personally. It's generally I leave, they tend to understand.
Yeah.
But I hope at least.
It's just a basic understanding between the two
But
situations.
like, even if you want them in your life, whatever, if they're not, it's okay if they're not benefiting you or making your life worse. But if they're making your life worse,
yeah.
that's when you need to know to cut
That's
that
the
person
thing.
out.
Well, you have to know yourself. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
I asked you at the beginning,
Yeah.
what's your goals 10 years from now? You want to own a studio?
Yeah.
What if you had a girlfriend who was fucking doing drugs, asking you for cigarette money, asking you for coffee money? That is taking away from your goal that you want to achieve. You, no matter how much you love this person, no matter how close they are in your life, you got to let them go. And it's hard. I have lots of friends who
Oh, yeah,
have like
okay.
parents like that.
Yes.
And it's like, you have to understand, you have to reach a point where you have to control your life over your parents.
Yes.
It's like, there's a point where no matter who the person is, you have to put yourself in front of them.
yeah,
And
like
that's an important step in life, and that's hard to get to, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
it's life's hard.
Life is
But
to suffer. To
you
live
need
is to suffer.
I think you need to be selfless and help others sometimes
100%.
above you, but you also need to make sure that you're also
But
good.
how can you
Yeah.
help
which
others?
is a hard balance.
How can you help
How can you
others
help
if you need to help
others?
yourself?
How
It
can
is-
you help
it's a
others if
hard
you
balance.
don't help yourself?
I find it's a really hard balance.
I think you need to have the strong sense of self before you can do anything.
Yes.
That needs to happen to you before. You need to have the teeter-totter on one side, I believe, personal opinion, on one side where you have a strong sense of self before you can help anyone, or else you're bringing everyone down, and that's what they do to you.
I agree. I went through that. I went to Australia for 5 months when I was 19, and there was this.
Yo,
What's up?
can we take a break
Yes.
and then come back to that story?
Okay.
Okay. don't know.
At the top.
I don't know. Okay, so
Whatever.
go back to your.
Okay. So when I've had battles with I'm gonna say
Talk right into it.
social
Sorry.
anxiety,
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts, depression,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay.
Don't say whatever after that.
No, I'm saying I said depression with finger quotes because I never went to get it diagnosed or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
but
True.
I lived as if I was depressed. I'll say that.
Okay.
And when I was 19, I was a fucking mess. Okay. I was a mess, and
I feel you.
I wanted to get away from my environment, and he's moving the mic,
Okay.
and just go away and be somewhere on my own
Yeah.
that I've never been, and just I wanted to try and grow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in a bad spot,
Yeah.
but this Australian experience was the catalyst for change in me.
Yeah.
And I'm not the same now, but that's not the point. The point is,
But that is the point. That's a helpful.
yeah, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to say right now.
okay. True.
The point is, I was in a bad spot,
Yeah.
and I had a friend who I met there who was also going through a really hard time because she found out she was adopted
Yeah.
after living like 20 something years,
Crazy stuff.
believing that her parents were her parents, right?
I'm sorry. Can you move 6 inches that way, less close to John's mic?
Okay, then why did you move the mic?
Well, no, you want to keep it at that angle, but you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because I can hear you through John's mic.
Okay.
Sorry.
And for her, it was a big deal.
I think
She-
it would for anyone, really. I've
Yeah.
heard a few of those stories where they're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was a really big deal for her. Okay. And she was in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
I really tried to help her,
Yeah.
but I was in a bad spot. So me trying to help her was just bringing both of us down because she couldn't help herself. I couldn't help her. I couldn't help myself. Thankfully, we were both surrounded by really good people,
Yeah.
but I had
Yeah.
to I basically stopped interacting with her for like the last 2 months I was there because
Because you can do it.
I couldn't do it at that point in
It
my
takes
life.
too much energy. It goes back. This is
'cause
all recurring
I was-
theme. It goes back to the point
Exactly.
we were talking about. It's about being aware of having to cut people off and understanding that it's not. That's not selfish. The word selfish is always used in a negative connotation, especially within our society,
And
Yeah.
it's not always.
and it's not always.
Yeah.
And
Gen-
especially not in that case when you have to help yourself. It goes
Yeah.
back to our fucking teeter-totter. It's like you need to help yourself before you help anyone, or else it's even more selfish to not drop that person and think you can help them without actually.
I agree.
That's the most disgusting thing. Thinking you can help someone, having your ego in the way of thinking you can help someone when you really can't. You don't know shit.
Exactly.
Back up.
Yeah.
And they need to deal with it themselves. Sorry, go on.
Well, that's basically that. But
Yeah.
the other point is that now that I'm not in that point anymore.
Yeah.
I have come to see, and we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
that each good relationships are give and receive, right?
They need to be.
Straight
But
up.
sometimes someone needs to receive a little bit more. Sometimes someone needs to give a little bit more. Just sometimes people need some extra help.
100%. But you need to be.
And you need to be able to do that
Exactly.
without hurting yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you kind of need to make sure that you're not hurting yourself or the other person. Like,
Because if you're helping someone and you're hurting yourself, then you're not really helping them either.
yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with your point.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm going to bring it back. So me and my buddy did a podcast the other day. Yesterday. Me and Jacob.
Friggin' Republicans!
Fucking racist. Just kidding. I'm totally joking. But it's like
Disclaimer, trigger warning!
he was talking and I got the vibe of so he told me he was like a little nervous, and he had like there was a little doubt in his mind about the fact that it was happening, and it's like I could feel the vibe that he wants to be able to tell someone something, and it's like in order to help someone, you need to understand that you don't know shit. It's like you can't come out here and act like you know shit, because that's not going to do anything for anyone.
No.
And that just goes to that point. It's like if you're trying to help someone through something, you have to understand that you don't know shit. You can give them advice, but you have to understand that they need to figure it out on themselves.
Yes. Exactly. You cannot help someone who won't help themselves, eh?
You can't let your ego get in the way.
No.
Of that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were you saying about depression and anxiety? What did that have to do with that? So you just said you weren't in the same position?
I just said that at that time I did not have the capacity to help her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel
that's all I was trying to say by that.
True.
I'm gonna point out something from the beginning of that. Although there's a lot of people that, self what's it called? Self-diagnose, thank you, sorry.
Yeah.
But even then, I find some of those times it's actually happening. So, like, you may have not gone to the doctor and been diagnosed with depression, but...
Well, I was feeling
you still could be...
There was something wrong.
Yes, because, like, I was in the same situation where I wasn't actually diagnosed, but I think me and other people around me could tell that something really wrong was happening.
Yeah. So speaking on that, what are your thoughts on anxiety and depression?
Sucks.
I can't really talk much about anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I have that.
You don't think you deal with that?
No.
Yeah.
Depression I've dealt with for years, but...
Yeah.
Well, it's shitty.
Yeah.
But what is that? I feel like when someone says they're depressed, it's like I feel like that hurts them.
It comes, I find, with all mental illnesses, I'm guessing, and even normal physical illnesses, they can kind of come in different ways.
Yeah.
So like depression's not always the same with different people. It's not like you have the exact same things happening to you.
It's a very good point. That's a very good point.
I say the term depression as a shorthand to explain or describe my state of mind at that point. But also, I tried for a long time to pretend that there was nothing wrong, right? And the day that I finally said, I think I'm depressed, was the day I started to get better. I move around while I talk.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Yeah.
See, and I was in a different situation.
Sorry. You need to repeat that for me. Sorry, okay. I apologize.
I said I used depression as a shorthand to explain people my mental state at that point.
Yeah.
But also, I, for years, tried to pretend that there was nothing wrong. I tried to just deal with it.
Yeah.
The day I said, or I thought to myself, I think I'm depressed, was the day I started to get better.
The day you started to deal with it?
Yes.
See, and I was in a different...
the day that I said, okay, I can't just deal with it. I need to talk to someone. I need to admit that there's something wrong. Right.
You can't just... put it away. I don't think that's dealing with it.
No, that's not just hiding it.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's the thing. It's like that's the day you needed to deal with it. You needed to actually bring it up to the light instead of putting it away. That's what I meant.
Because I had said just deal with it earlier, so I was just trying to clarify that.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a different situation for me, coming back to the point that it's not always the same, where I at least thought I was depressed. Later figured out, yes, I almost certainly am, but I knew I was, but I was trying to hide it from other people because I didn't want them to be brought down. I was just trying to deal with it on my own.
It's interesting. And what do you think that is? Do you think that's a chemical imbalance in your brain, or do you think that's just...
I think it is. Like, it's definitely, I know there's like the seasonal depression whatever,
especially up in
where
Canada.
that definitely has to do with a chemical imbalance. I think I'm not a doctor. I don't research this stuff, but I think all of it is, but sometimes it could be like a traumatic event or whatever that then causes that chemical imbalance.
True. So what you're going back to, you're saying you're not a doctor.
No, obviously not.
How much medical experience do you not have,
So
John?
this is just an
med
opinion.
school at 16 years old.
I
He's
wish.
a super genius.
Make mad bank.
Fucking.
No, it's just like
But who
an
do you-
opinion, I think.
So who do you think should deal with these type of people? Who do you think should deal with people with
I
depression?
think
how do you go about fixing that situation?
I personally just tried for
Can it be fixed?
how I think.
Yeah.
I think it's always there personally, but you find better ways to deal with it where
To cope.
like it may happen, but then you have a way to quickly handle it. You're on your way.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten to a point where I handle it way better than a few years before, where
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
I may get into a shitty mood, but I have ways to make it better for myself, and I have grown and matured as a person
Yeah.
to just be able to handle it and have it like just have the day better.
Yeah.
But at first it wasn't that way. I couldn't handle it, whatever. So I think it has to do with
You could handle it, but you didn't understand the
I didn't know
mechanisms.
how to, and I didn't
Okay.
understand it, you know.
And what do you think about? So you're talking about doctor. You guys say
Okay.
I wasn't
I think-
described. You weren't diagnosed by a doctor. What do you think that is? Do you think a doctor should be determining whether you are depressed or whether you are not?
A psychologist is actually who I think at least, because I never went to any of them, but I'm pretty sure it's a psychologist that is the person that can diagnose.
But a doctor can diagnose you too, and a doctor can prescribe antidepressant pills.
Well, that's true, because I went for another reason to a doctor to get something else checked out.
Yeah.
And they didn't exactly. This is what kind of scared me and why I'm very against a lot of the commercial pills and everything.
Yeah.
But I went for something else. I think I went just to see. Had something to do with like I wasn't focusing or anything.
Yeah.
And I just went to see the problem with that. They're like, well, I think it has to do with depression. You can go to therapist, whatever, but the thing that scared me and I said no immediately was they're like, well, we can let you try these pills. And I was like, I don't really, for one, I was kind of against it because I've heard bad stories of just addiction with that stuff.
Yeah.
So I already said no, but I think that's a little too quick to just be like, here you go.
I agree with that. Yeah.
100%. That's what scares me. That's why I have such a gray cloud of depression, anxiety, and this is why I have so many questions about it. It's because I don't understand it. I felt numb. I felt anxious. I don't know if that's nerves, but I'm not sure where those feelings come from, and I'm not sure how much those affect my life, and I'm not sure if there's other ways to cope with them. But we live in a society now. I bet if you went to our classmates, there'd be at least 3 people in our 30-person class that are on some sort of pill.
I knew a lot of people, like, still friends with, who they're not anymore, but a lot of my friends were on pills.
Do you think you would have been in a better situation have you been on pills? Or how much do you think that would have affected
Again, it has to
I guess
go,
you guys don't know.
I wouldn't, again, opinion, because I've talked with people who have. It has to do with you being able to handle whatever it is they give you. So if you can't handle it, then, you know, bad shit can happen, or if you do know how to handle it, it could be beneficial. I can't say for sure.
Yeah,
I've never been there.
But I've seen friends who go on antidepressants and who literally become numb. I can see there's no life in their eyes. I can see the person that they once were. It's just different. It's different. You don't have that spark. You're fine. You're smiling, but it's not real. You can see in your face that it's not real. I can see in their actions that it's not real, and it scares me.
Well, like going back to Nathan's point, is I think the first best step is just acknowledging that you have whatever it is. So again, you know, he acknowledged it and he felt better that way. Then I think you have to take other steps to help better that. But I think ultimately it has to do with yourself, you growing and knowing how to handle whatever it is you have. But I think I didn't do it a lot, which I regretted, but I think going to
doing
people,
a lot,
talking to people, I think whether it's your friends,
just expressing
I don't
yourself?
think you should rely on your friends to help you, but expressing your feelings, I think, is a good thing. Going to a therapist is probably better, and I've
also-
heard benefits of that.
Be
God
careful
bless
who you
if
say
don't.
that to, though. You have to know who to talk to.
Well,
though.
yes, it depends. Like, it has, again, you have to just know that person, that
Yeah.
they can deal with whatever you're talking about and can handle it in a good way.
Yeah.
Where luckily I had friends that could. I went to like maybe one friend and just kind of kept it hidden from others, but that person who again goes back cutting off that person because of other reasons, but before that really helped me through all that stuff.
Through your shoes, did you guys ever go to your parents?
Oh, yeah.
My one parent just found out because physical stuff that happened, but
Okay, true. So,
but I didn't tell them. They just found it out because they.
in what aspect? What do you
they
mean?
saw, like,
They saw what?
I used to like self-harm and everything,
Yeah.
and they literally saw scars from that, so they kind of just clued in like something's up.
And they sat down and talked to you with that?
Yes.
They never saw anything before that?
Not that I know of, but like that was another person who was very helpful for me, who I was very open with.
True. And what?
Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to John's
mom. Come on now.
Yeah, you do you, girl. So, what pushed you to that position?
What do you mean?
What pushed you to the position to self-harm?
okay.
For me, at least how I think is, I still happens. I don't self-harm now, not anymore. But I get.
God bless.
What would happen is
God bless.
Love you,
either
John.
I'd get
Love you,
thank
John.
you. I'd get either sad, angry, whatever. It could be at me or a person. And even if it was sad or anger towards someone else, I would turn that on myself. I can't explain why, it just happened. And
Was it like
for
a distraction? Was the physical pain a distraction from the mental pain?
Yes, I was going to get to that, but
Okay.
it would be me taking my anger out, and that was
On yourself.
yes. At the time,
Yeah.
it's not a good way, but I thought it was a good way to.
You didn't understand anything else,
Yes,
right?
I thought it at the time it was a good way to deal with that, when in fact it wasn't.
And was there a point where you came to like the realization of I shouldn't? There's a better way. Like, how did you get to that point where you stopped that? Where the transition happened?
It was literally last year, actually, but
Was it talking to people? Was it like finding ways to cope, like you said?
I found literally just like
It's probably
at-
ice caps.
ice caps.
God bless
you
Tim
know.
Hortons.
Shout out to Tim Hortons. It was kind of, for me, it was surrounding myself with positive people who were very, like, I found just great to hang around with. And
Understanding.
Understanding,
keyword.
yes.
Yo, that's the name of this podcast. Go, sorry,
Yo,
dude.
can opener, understanding.
But
Yeah,
no,
sure.
they were very understanding, the ones I actually told, because later on I got more open about it, and now I'm like, I obviously can discuss it and allow
God
you
bless you. Thank
to
you for doing
put it
that,
out
too.
on social media, but 'cause at the time I wasn't very vocal about it, so I'd go to like maybe 3 people, and they were very positive and understanding, and they were trying to better me.
Was there ever like a climactic moment of something that someone said that really changed your actions? Like,
Honestly, not really. It was kind of just a build-up of, like, there was a time when I was still
was
doing
it changing your habits? Was it changing your mindset?
I think
Was
it had to do with just trying to because there was a point where I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is not healthy.
Yeah.
I was still doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I stopped and then got back into it, but then stopped, obviously, now. But I think it just had to do with, I was like, I want to better myself. I want to be happy with my life. So it was just me noticing that and trying to change my mindset and better myself.
So it was your own work.
It had to do with
Yeah.
be my own work, but I was also surrounded by people who were encouraging of me getting better. So like I personally think it mainly and almost 100% has to do with yourself. Like it is 100%. You need to be able to change and understand that this isn't healthy. I know it's very hard, so it's not just as easy as that. But knowing, like, I want to better myself, because if someone tries to help you and you don't want to better yourself, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
But if someone's helping you, or even if they aren't, and you're like, I need to better myself, you're going to start working towards that.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a big, like, this one thing happened, I was better. It was just a slow build up over years.
Do you credit that to your mother for instilling that mindset, or do you credit that to your friends for instilling that mindset? Where did you get that mindset from? Music? From?
It was honestly just everything I surround myself in now. So music, like Kid Cudi was.
God bless. Kid Cudi
got me through so much shit, and I want to get a
motherfucker
tattoo.
Saved a lot of lives.
I know.
We're putting that out there.
God bless Kid Cudi.
God bless Kid Cudi.
I hope
I got shivers right there because my friend said that exact same thing, and I've heard multiple people say that thing about Kid Cudi more than anyone, more than any other artist I've ever heard. God bless Kid Cudi's soul.
God respect.
I really hope he's doing better.
100%.
I know he went through some shit recently. I hope he's doing better. Like,
but you know what?
I hope and think he is.
God bless him, because he did exactly.
He opened himself up to the world, and I see him talk about it all the time.
He did exactly what you just did in that mic.
I didn't want people to be lone. Like, he was like, I've been through all this fucked up shit. I don't want other people to be through this, be lonely. So I'm going to tell my story so they know they're not the only ones dealing with that. And my mom definitely helped a lot. My dad, like, I never told my dad. I don't know if he knew, but even without him knowing, he still helped me. Like, there was some.
Do you think he really didn't know, or do you think he knew and it just wasn't?
I don't know myself. That's one thing where I get from my dad. We don't open up much, but he could have known. He could have not. I still don't know. But still, just him being around, like, he's a great dad. Yeah. Shout out to my parents.
Shout out to John's parents.
My parents were great.
Parents.
Some good parents, yeah.
Shout out to everybody's
parents. My parents were great, and I'm privileged and happy to have them still in my life, and they were great. Yeah. And my friends I had around me, Kid Cudi being the big thing musically, but other people musically, those were kind of the factors outside of myself that had to help with it. Yeah. But there's so much I could say about that.
Man, I've been really opening up with my dad lately, and it's very interesting. There's a point where you gotta go out with your dad for a beer, and you gotta just talk to him about this shit. You gotta fuck the mic.
For me, it was with my mom, but I did.
Same with me.
I drink with my dad all the time, and we don't talk. I find even if you don't,
know why though? Because there's a man's stigma. You need to open up the men. It's true. There's a men's stigma in our society where we have to be close, we have to be hard, we have to work hard, we have to shut up, we have to stop bitching about shit. But there's a thing where it's like you need to open up and feel those feelings.
And I think,
because I bet your dad would be relieved as fuck. He would feel that weight lifted off his chest if you start talking, because he'd be like, man, I went through the same shit.
Well, like, my mom has talked to me about him and thinks that he has dealt with it, and 100%. I feel like it. We don't open, and that still today
it would be a beautiful
I think still today it kind of pushes me back, that whole stigma. Like, I still sometimes in my mind it just comes in like you can't open up to people, blah blah blah.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard. It's scary.
It is. Yeah.
Like, it's scary what other motherfuckers are gonna think about you.
Yeah.
But it's like we all deal with the same shit. We all deal with it. Maybe not to certain extremes, but it goes back to that word understanding. You have to understand. If someone comes at you with a negative attitude like that, it's like you have to understand that they probably have never dealt with that.
Yeah.
And that's their issue, because they're not going to understand as much as you understand.
That
because you've been through that.
Another thing where during that time, it was my fault sometimes, where going back to sometimes people just can't, like, there's a point where people have to make themselves better rather than trying to help, where I lost relationships, friendships, whatever, because I was not the best person at that time, and they couldn't deal with that.
You learn from those mistakes, though, right?
I was mad at the time, but after a while, I started realizing, like, I wasn't in the best state at that time, so they couldn't always deal with that. So then I was like, okay, I understand, like, why they left or whatever.
Once you're beat to the ground, once you're alone, you don't know yourself until you're alone. And it's like, once you hit that point, it's like, that's when you start self-reflecting. You realize that, oh shit, I fucked up. And it's not like it was your fault, but it's like, you go back to that fucking word, understanding. You're dealing with yourself with empathy at this point. Once you start doing that, it's like, that's open. Once you start dealing with yourself with empathy.
Actually, I think a lot of people have a really hard time with being empathetic to themselves.
You grab another beer too in the fridge if you want it. If not, I'm gonna drink it.
Isn't that his?
It is his, but I just wanted to make sure you didn't know.
Okay.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Washroom, by the way, before you guys start this.
What?
Washroom?
It's right there.
Oh.
In front of the door. In front of the front door. Okay, go on.
I just said that I think a lot of people have a hard time forgiving themselves or understanding themselves, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, you got to deal with yourself with empathy. You're expected everybody to. We were talking to Landon the other day.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope you're listening, dude. But it's like, we're talking,
love you, Landon.
Yeah, no, totally, 100% love you. But it's like, you need to understand that they're not going to understand you until you express that to them. Yeah. It's like, how are you going to reach that point? You have to look at yourself. You have to look at yourself at first. Yeah. What a good conversation.
That was.
All right.
Too bad we didn't have the podcast there.
Are we done?
Are we done what?
Are we done this?
The podcast?
Yeah. I think that's a good closing.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot for people to take in if anyone's listening.
John's in the washroom. I took off my glasses.
John, I love you. John,
Oh, look, here he's coming.
John, we're done.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a shame.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
Bro, that was a long conversation. It's a lot for people to digest, and I feel good. I learned a lot from that, and that's all the goal is to this.
I haven't had a discussion this long or this deep in a while.
Man, it's good. Yeah. It feels good, and that's the only thing I'm trying to do with this. And it's not even anything. Like, no one's listening to us. But it's like, we're listening to each other. Yeah. And it's focused.
I'd be okay if this went out to people.
100%. Man, think about it. You just talked about Kid Cudi. Like, the reason you look up to him. Because he expressed himself.
I highly look up to him.
He openly expresses what he dealt with. That is the most impactful shit. Openly express what you deal with. You openly express what you deal with. That is going to hit people. Because, like, wow, I'm not the only one going through this.
Exactly.
Also,
and that's going to hit people. That's going to be the most impactful.
Shout out to Tech 9, another person that helped.
Shout out to Tech 9.
Tech 9.
Kill Switch
Strange music.
Shout out to my parents, too.
I wasn't listening to them at the time.
Shout out to Nathan's Australian
friends.
Shout
out to his parents.
True.
Shout out to
Australian.
Shout out to just good musicians.
Shout out to Kevin Komaransky.
Big
I'm
shout
sorry
out to
I said
Kevin.
that about your ego, but I love you.
Great guy.
Oh shit.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Okay.